There have been many disgusting statements made recently concerning allegations of improper conduct on my part.
Did you ever, as this young boy said you did you ever sexually engage, fondle, have sexual contact with this child or any other child?
Never, ever. I could never harm a child or anyone. It's not in my heart. It's not who I am. And it's not what I'm not even interested in.
It began with a chance encounter at a car rental shop in May 1992. Michael Jackson's limousine had broken down on Wilshire Boulevard, leading him to Rent-A-Wreck, where he met the owner's 12-year-old son, Jordan Chandler. The boy was a massive fan, and Jackson quickly became a fixture in the Chandler family's life, regularly calling Jordan and eventually becoming so close that tabloids dubbed them his secret family. Over the next year, Jackson showered the family with gifts and lavish international trips to places like Las Vegas, Monaco, and Disney World, eventually hosting Jordan and his family for extended stays at Neverland Ranch. As this friendship deepened throughout early 1993, the first red flags appeared when Jackson and Jordan began a sleepover arrangement. Jackson defended these sleepovers as entirely innocent, reportedly telling the boys' family that their bond was not about sex, but about a pure connection.
But is it really appropriate for a 44-year-old man to share a bedroom with a child who is not related to him at all?
That's a beautiful thing.
That's not a worrying thing?
Why should it be worrying? Who's the criminal? Who's Jack the Ripper in the room?
However, Jordan's biological father, Evan Chandler, a Hollywood dentist and screenwriter who was divorced from Jordan's mother, grew increasingly resentful and suspicious of Jackson's massive influence over his son. This domestic tension created a rift that would eventually lead to the first formal accusations against the singer. In July 1993, during a visit where Jordan was allegedly sedated with sodium amytal for a dental procedure, Evan claimed his son confessed to sexual abuse. Critics of the case later pointed out that this specific drug is known for creating extreme suggestibility, potentially leading to false memories. But for Evan Chandler, it was the catalyst for a legal war. Before contacting the authorities, Evan's legal team reached out to Jackson's representatives with a massive demand of $20 million to keep the story quiet. This move would later become the cornerstone of Jackson's defense, arguing the entire situation was a financial shakedown.
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief, and will not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen. And beyond his worst nightmares, that's that one more record. This attorney I found, I interviewed several, and I picked the nastiest son of a bitch I could find. Once I make that phone call, this guy is just going to destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. And I've given him full authority to do that. It'll be a massacre if I don't get what I want. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want, and they will be destroyed forever. They will be destroyed. June is going to lose Jordy. She will have no right to ever see him again. Yeah. That's a fact, Dave. That's what's going to happen. Michael's career will be over. Does that help Jordy? Michael's career will be over. And does that help Jordy? It's irrelevant to me.
Jackson's team, convinced this was an extortion plot, recorded phone calls where Evan allegedly threatened to create a massacre and destroy the singer if he wasn't paid. Jackson flatly refused to settle at the time, believing he was the victim of a predatory scheme. When the money negotiations failed, the matter was finally handed over to a psychiatrist who reported the allegations to the LAPD on the 17th of August, 1993. This officially launched a criminal investigation that would immediately stun the world and change Jackson's public image forever. The investigation quickly turned into a global media circus, while Jackson was away on his dangerous world tour. Police conducted massive raids on Neverland Ranch and his family home in Encino, searching for any physical evidence to back up the claims. The authorities were looking for anything from diaries to photographs that might link Jackson to the alleged crimes. During this time, other children who had stayed at the ranch were interviewed, but many, including some who would later change their stories decades later, denied any wrongdoing had occurred. The most harrowing moment of the initial probe occurred on December 20th, 1993, when authorities served a warrant to conduct a 25-minute strip search of the singer.
I have been forced to submit to a dehumanizing and humiliating examination by the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Department and the Los Angeles Police Department earlier this week. They served a search warrant on me which allowed them to view and photograph my body.
They photographed Jackson's nude body to see if his anatomy matched a highly detailed description Jordan had provided to a psychiatrist. Jackson later released a televised statement calling the ordeal the most humiliating moment of his life, describing how he was forced to stand naked while strangers inspected and photographed him. This event deeply traumatized the singer and became a rallying point for his fan base. Facing a civil trial scheduled for early 1994, Jackson's team eventually made the controversial choice to settle the case for a reported total of $23 million. His lawyers maintained this was not an admission of guilt, but a strategic move by insurance companies to end the media frenzy and protect his financial assets. However, the settlement had a massive legal consequence. Once the civil suit was resolved, Jordan Chandler refused to testify in a criminal court. Without its primary witness, prosecutors were forced to drop all criminal charges in September 1994, leaving the case legally closed. But the public permanently divided.
Why did you settle the case then? Why did you settle the case? And it looks to everyone as if you paid a huge amount of money
Most of that's
to get
folklore.
silence.
I talked to my lawyers and I said, can you guarantee me that justice will prevail? And they said, Michael, we cannot guarantee you that a judge or a jury will do anything. And with that, I was like catatonic. I was outraged.
It's been barred to discuss it.
The specific
terms,
You know, so
but
it's
specific amounts.
the idea is just isn't fair. What they put me through, because there wasn't one piece of information that says I did that.
During the high-stakes raids of his properties, detectives discovered a collection of books that would become some of the most controversial pieces of evidence in the case. Found inside a locked file cabinet, tucked away in a closet within Jackson's master bedroom, titles like The Boy, a photographic essay, and Boys Will Be Boys, became central to the prosecution's propensity argument. While these were not illegal to own, their location in a secured, private area led investigators to believe they were part of a hidden collection intended to desensitize young visitors. The personal connection Jackson had to these books was revealed through handwritten inscriptions found on the flyleaves. Inside Boys Will Be Boys, Jackson wrote a poignant note. Look at the true spirit of happiness and joy in these boys' faces. This is the spirit of boyhood, a life I've never had and will always dream of. His legal team later used this to argue that the books were purely artistic and symbolic of his lost childhood, rather than sexual in nature. They highlighted that Jackson, a lover of classical art, viewed them as innocent illustrations of a period of life he felt he had missed out on during his own rise to fame. The origin of these books also played a key role in the narrative. The Boy, a photographic essay, contained a dedication from a fan identified as Rhonda from Chicago. dated back to 1983. Jackson's staff testified that gifts from fans were routinely filtered, and only those of personal interest were kept. This suggested that the book was a gift he chose to keep, rather than something he had actively sought out for illicit purposes. Despite this, prosecutors pointed to the graphic nature of the content, stating that one book was approximately 90% photographs of nude adolescent boys, as evidence of a specific sexual interest that would haunt his reputation for decades to come.
Reports that we read over and over again that in your rooms they found photographs of young boys, not of
young
adults,
boys,
not,
there's children, all kind of girls and everything.
and that they found photographs, books of young boys who were undressed.
No,
Didn't happen.
no, not that I know of, unless people sent me things that I haven't opened. People know my love for children, so they send me books from all over the world, from South America, from Germany, from Italy, from Sweden.
So if people say that they found those things, if there's an indication, let them come forward, let them produce them, right?
Yeah, because I get all you wouldn't believe the amounts of mail that I get. And if you say to somebody, you know, if I let the fans know I love Charlie Chaplin, I'll be swarmed in Charlie Chaplin paraphernalia. But if I say I love children, which I do, they swarm me with everything pertaining to kids.
The 1993 allegations fractured Michael Jackson's legacy, turning a whimsical icon into a man shadowed by a permanent question mark. Before Jordan Chandler, Jackson's eccentricity seemed innocent, but the Neverland raids and grooming materials found in his bedroom created a sinister counter-narrative. The investigation's peak, a 25-minute strip search, remains a battleground. While detectives claimed a match to the child's drawings, Jackson's autopsy later contradicted the boy's description of his circumcision. By settling for $23 million, Jackson silenced the criminal probe, but created a lasting hush-money stigma. Whether he was a predator or an extortion victim, 1993 remains the unresolved foundation of his controversial history.